Commander de Leszczynski staff rightward mandat for the sentencing hearing for Army Sergeant Bergdahl, who has already admitted his guilt on charges that he deserted and endangered his platoon mates in Afghanistan in 2009, continues at Fort Bragg this week. The judge could order Bergdahl to life imprisonment. Bergdahl pleaded guilty last week, 2 years after the court was presented thousands of classified documents and heard testimony from a four-star general of forces command and service members who were injured on missions to find Bergdahl. The defense tried numerous times to get the charges against Bergdahl dismissed based on what they called biased comments made by U.S. Sen. John McCain and President Donald Trump. Last week, Trump breathed new life into the case when he commented on Bergdahl at a news conference at the White House, allowing defense lawyers to renew an old motion to dismiss based on Trump's bias. Bergdahl has chosen a trial by a military judge, Sir Cole Jeffrey Nance will alone hear the evidence and hand down the sentence. Because there is no pre-trial agreement, analysts say Bergdahl's plea is risky given there is no cap on the maximum punishment he could receive. Victor M. Hansen, a retired officer of Judge Advocate General Corps and a law professor at New England Law in Boston, said some of the pre-trial motions haven't been surprising. Given the high-profile nature of the case, Hansen said, defense lawyers were expected to attempt to get the charges dismissed based on unlawful command influence. The defense has long argued that comments by McCain and Trump have made it impossible for Bergdahl to receive a fair trial. McCain, chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, has repeatedly said the committee will hold a hearing if the military justice system doesn't punish Bergdahl. And Trump, speaking from his time as a civilian and later in his capacity as president, has called Bergdahl a traitor. Some of the unlawful command influence motions related to comments President Trump has made. You expect those in a high-profile case, Hansen said. I would say President Trump has been less disciplined than past leaders, but those motions aren't too surprising given the levels of separation between commander-in-chief and decision-makers. There's so many layers of insulation that it's not unusual for those motions to be made or denied. So far, the judge has denied all motions related to unlawful command influence. He will have to consider the latest filing this week. In that motion, defense lawyers renewed their argument that Trump's comments could sway the court, which will solely decide Bergdahl's fate. On October 16, the same day Bergdahl pleaded guilty, Trump held a joint news conference with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell at the White House where he was asked by a reporter about Bergdahl's ability to get a fair trial. Initially, Trump said he couldn't comment, but added, I think people have heard my comments in the past. Defense lawyers had previously played part of a 28-minute compilation video of Trump calling Bergdahl a traitor. Lawyer Chris Popper, who went into private practice in Fayetteville after retiring as an Army lieutenant colonel, said Trump's comments could have a long-term impact on the court-martial. He said the defense could use those comments in the appeals phase, should the case proceed that way. I suspect that's going to be a continuing issue through the appeals of the case, Popper said. I don't recall any other type of unlawful command influence motion in my years of dealing with the military justice system that is similar to this. I've raised issues where the commander-in-chief has said something, but not to this degree and not with such explicit language of his desired outcome that Trump said. As a candidate and seemingly affirmed as president, the other noteworthy evidence the judge could consider is personal accounts from soldiers who were injured as they searched for Bergdahl. Testimony could come from Jonathan Marita and James Hatch. Marita, who has left the Army but was a specialist in 2009, had previously described the intense firefight in Paktika Province, Afghanistan, where his team was pinned down. A rocket-propelled grenade struck Marita in his right hand, which he was using to hold his rifle. The grenade didn't explode but caused the rifle to break in 4 places and inflicted severe injuries to his hand. Hatch, a Navy SEAL, said he was left with a broken femur that ended his naval career. Hansen said prosecutors are expected to want to present that evidence, but he isn't sure it would sway the judge. I think it's going to be tricky for the government to get a lot out of this, he said. I think it's a bit of a stretch to pin all that on Bergdahl. I think a judge is going to be pretty circumspect about giving that evidence a whole lot of weight. These are soldiers, they're dangerous missions. I'm not sure the judge won't put the whole weight of the U.S. Army on the back of